This is The Drive with Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson on your 24/7 home of the black and gold. SNR, Steelers Nation Radio.
Let's take a look at the Steelers roster as it stood to start last season.
Okay.
Compared to now.
So the out of training camp final roster, basically.
Yes.
Okay. So there's some changes that happened during the year, but
So the wide receivers going into last season were George Pickens, Van Jefferson, Calvin Austin, Scotty Miller, Roman Wilson.
Okay.
Now you're looking at a situation where it is DK Metcalf, George Pickens, Calvin Austin, Robert Woods, Roman Wilson, Scotty Miller, Ben Skoranek. Got some
carryover, obviously.
Some carryover, and some other guy. We're not going to name them all.
Yeah. So I think when we do these things, you have to look at the guys that are coming back. How do you feel differently about them now than then? You got a year's worth of data. I feel a little better about Austin. I think he's progressively, not taking huge leaps and bounds, but I think most of his progression
I want to
has
say
been
he had
positive.
like 16 catches his first year. It was
Sounds about right.
2 years ago, that was really his first year in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Well, he doubled that in his second year.
Yeah. So I think he's gotten better. I think you feel better about him no matter what role he's in than you did a year ago. Roman Wilson and Pickens are tough for me because I think Pickens is a better football player. He's a more developed route runner, and he's a better player, and that's all we're really doing here. But there are questions and volatility and all that. But I guess we're not talking about what's your long-term prognosis for this guy. Are you going to re-sign him? All those things. So I think he's a better football player than he was a year ago. Do you think so?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there was
another year of experience.
Yeah. I mean, that first year in particular, he was a very limited route runner. A lot of go routes, a lot of comebacks.
I don't feel any different now about Roman Wilson than I did last year at this time because he hadn't played the entire preseason.
Right. I mean, I guess it depends on the timeline. It's not today. It's when they got, not the day he was drafted.
Going into the season, I'm like, I don't know what to expect from him.
Yeah.
Because he hadn't done anything in training camp.
I guess that's still the same.
That's the same.
Yeah.
And then DK Metcalf and Robert Woods and Ben Skoranek, for that matter, versus the other guys.
I mean, DK is obviously the massive, massive difference. I mean, the receiver room's a strength now where it was a weakness.
I think they've ridiculously improved that.
Ridiculously, no question. I think Skoranek's somebody that they found that is valuable. Van Jefferson would still probably be in the mix, but would he make the team?
He would be like Robert Woods.
Yeah, it'd probably come down to those two,
yeah.
And whoever brings more to the table. And Woods is just kind of a bonus prize. We'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not sure he'll make the team. We'll see.
Yeah, it's a one-year deal. There's no guarantees.
Right.
The offensive line going into last year, Broderick Jones. Is that last year or this year? That's this year. Never mind. No, that is last year. You have Broderick Jones, Dan Moore, Isaac Seumalo, Zach Frazier, James Daniels, Troy Fautanu, along with Spencer Anderson, Ryan McCollum, Mason McCormick.
So Herbig was hurt at that point.
Herbig was hurt. He was out at that point.
I was going to say they had more depth than that, but I guess not when the season opened.
Yeah. Now you're looking at, again, Broderick Jones, Isaac Seumalo, Zach Frazier, Mason McCormick, Troy Fautanu, Calvin Anderson, Spencer Anderson, Ryan McCollum, Stephen Jones, Max Sharping, and Doug Nestor.
I like the depth then better. I mean, with Daniels and Moore as starters, at that point you had a lot of young guys.
Well, let's remember,
promising for depth.
Last year at that time, Spencer Anderson had never played in a game.
Okay.
Ryan McCollum had played in a game, but it was 3 years earlier for Detroit.
Yeah.
So you'd never seen him.
You feel better about both those
Mason
guys.
Mason McCormick had never played a game.
I was definitely going to say that. You feel way better about McCormick now than then.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a starting guard. Then
right.
It was, we'll see. But Daniels and Moore had value.
Sure.
Daniels in particular, pre-injury, was a above-average starter.
I actually feel better about their depth now than I did last year going into the season with that group.
I guess it's more unproven then.
Yeah.
And it ended up proving itself.
All three of those guys, Spencer Anderson, McCollum, and McCormick, had never taken a snap in a Steelers uniform before.
I mean, you
let
definitely
alone started a game.
Even if you were super excited about Frazier then, you're more excited now.
Yeah, you like it
now
better
he's a top 5 center where you were like, I think he's going to be a good starter. Fautanu's kind of like the Roman Wilson conversation. I think that's just a wash. Have you changed your mind at all?
I feel better about him now than I did then.
On opening day?
Because he hadn't played much in the preseason.
Mm-hmm.
What little he did play, I felt pretty good about.
I mean, stuff we saw at camp was great.
Yeah.
You know. I don't know, my opinion changed. I loved him then. I love him now.
Yeah, I guess
I mean?
that's fair.
Jones is a tough one. You would have liked to seen a bigger step forward, but that's not what the conversation is. It's where do you value, how do you perceive the player then versus now? I would say similar. I mean, I don't think he's answered the questions. He's not out of the woods of he's going to be great. And there were some ups and downs, but post-bye was a lot better than pre-bye.
Yeah, I'm not ready. There are a lot of people, he stinks. You got to get, I don't feel that way about him.
No, and I don't think they do either. Trying to think who
he needs to be better than what he has been, but I'm not ready to say, he's just awful.
Right. And I wasn't ready to say that then. I'm not ready to say it now. But boy, this is a pivotal year.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no question about that, but that doesn't change what we thought of him then or now. Who else are we not talking about? I mean, like the Dylan Cooks and Sharpings and those guys probably are what they are at this point.
Yeah.
You know,
but you didn't really have them on the roster at that point.
Right.
You mentioned Dylan
right.
Cook before. I mean,
yeah,
you didn't have those guys on your roster.
Right. I mean, you did find some dudes. Anderson, both Andersons in a way. One you drafted, one you found, and you're comfortable putting them in games where you didn't know that about them before. Yeah, I guess it's better now.
Slightly.
Yeah. Room for improvement.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Depth concerns for me.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, they could go off the rails. If Jones has a bad year and Frazier gets hurt, you know.
Well, I mean, what team isn't that?
There's no question. I mean, it's a very thin position across the league.
You start losing tackles, you're in trouble.
Big time.
Looking at the tight end position, largely the same, except Michael Pruitt swapped out for Donald Parham.
Maybe I'm a little less on Hayward. I mean, I'm trying to be as nitpicky as possible. I'm definitely higher on Washington.
Way better about Washington than I did a year ago.
I thought he was one of the most improved players on the team. I think his numbers will never show it, but I think he's one of the harder tight ends to play against for opposing defensive coordinators across the board, no matter what style you play. Freiermuth, I'm the same on, I think. I don't think he's a lot worse. He's a lot better. I think he is what he is, and I think there's still untapped potential there.
Yeah.
More over-the-middle passing would help him, too. I mean, I think schematically things could go his way. Parham versus Pruitt, they're very different.
Yeah, very different.
Very different. I'm kind of excited to see the Parham usage, or can he block anybody? He's tall and skinny. He's gonna struggle with the power edge guys.
Yeah.
But he could be a getting away dude, and he
might not ask him to do that.
As I say, I don't know what they'll do with him. I mean, Pruitt was more somewhat fullback-ish, move all around, you know. So, I mean, that's small potatoes, though.
At running back right now, you're looking at Jalen Warren, Caleb Johnson, Kenneth Gainwell, Cordell Patterson.
Mm-hmm.
Last year, going into the season, it was Najee Harris, Jalen Warren, Cordell Patterson.
Gainwell's a nice bonus that you didn't have. It would have been nice to have one more back as opposed to some of the guys they're bringing back, the undrafted dudes. Johnson's an unknown, but I think I would be higher on him now than I was Najee then. I'm not sure if I'm being fair to myself with that. You know, I mean, sitting in Latrobe talking about Najee, I mean, I wasn't saying bad things, but, you know.
And that's the conundrum with Najee Harris.
Right.
That, okay, he went out and he put up 4 straight 1,000-yard seasons.
Yeah.
Nobody else did that over that time period.
Mm-hmm.
But it was also, kind of high volume 1,000
hard fought yards and not a lot of big plays. And right. I mean, he is what he is. And if you told me Johnson this year would be as good as Najee last year, I think I'd go fish. I'm actually hoping for better.
As good at somebody brought that up on the message board.
That's a real broad statement, you know.
And they said, well, can he be? I said, look, if he goes out and puts up over the next 4 years 4,000-yard seasons, even if he just barely gets to 1,000 yards like Najee did in a couple, how did he get there?
And I said the eyeball test is important for me on that.
Did he get there on 225 carries? Did it take him 300? Like, there's a huge difference.
Is he averaging 4.3 and breaking off some long runs? I'm sure he'll face lighter boxes than Najee did to be in Najee's corner.
Right.
He did not have an easy go of it. And
he did not.
You would hope Johnson has a better, more talented offensive line. Certainly more talented pass catchers to aid the running game. Year 2 of the system. But I think Johnson has a really good chance to be the better player for the Steelers.
Right.
You know,
I'm with you.
And you throw a little Gainwell in there, helps. You know, they didn't have that guy.
And I don't know that Patterson makes this team.
I kind of don't think he will, but he was intriguing, I guess, a year ago. You know, I was glad he was around.
Right,
as a third running back, clearly a third running back with some gadgety stuff, and didn't really come to fruition.
Yeah. The quarterbacks coming out of camp last year, of course, were Russell Wilson, Justin Fields, Kyle Allen. Right now, it's still Mason Rudolph, Will Howard, Skylar Thompson. I think we can work on the assumption that he who shall not be named will be.
But like Howard, I mean, to really nerd out, I mean, Howard has more value than Allen.
Yes.
Thompson probably has the least value.
Yeah.
I mean, if we're talking about the bottom of the run guys. Judging Rudolph, how I feel about him now versus how I felt about Wilson and Fields then, I was pretty optimistic about those guys. So I would give both them the nod over Rudolph, but I'm really happy he's here at the moment, assuming another piece drops. You know what I mean? Like, I'll take the quarterback room with Rodgers over that quarterback room.
Yeah.
But I had some optimism about both Fields and Wilson, you know? I mean, it wasn't like, these guys are going to be one and done. They're not worth investing in or anything.
No, I
mean,
I
when
hear
we
you.
broke camp,
I agree.
Is what I'm trying to think here.
I agree.
And Wilson at that point had some injury stuff. I mean, he hadn't done much.
Yeah. Moving over to the defense. Coming out of camp, your defensive line was Larry Ogunjobi, Keanu Benton, Cam Hayward, Dean Lowry, Montravius Adams, Isaiah Loudermilk. Logan Lee was
in the mix at that point,
but hurt. Now you're looking at Derek Harmon, Keanu Benton, Cam Hayward, Isaiah Loudermilk, Yaya Black, Daniel Kale, Dean Lowry, Logan Lee. We'll see about some of the other guys there, Dominique Davis, and like that. But I think those are the,
if we look
the
at
key
like
guys.
Top 7 versus top 7 type argument. So people that listen probably remember, I never said anything bad about Cam Hayward, but coming out of camp, I was worried. I'm like, is this a year he gets old? I mean, he was coming off an injury-plagued season. I didn't expect him to be an all-pro in 2024, you know, and now I'm pretty sure he's an all-pro. So my evaluation of Hayward then versus now is much rosier now, even though he's a year older.
Yeah.
I mean, just because the year he was coming off of at the time, it wasn't like he was doing much in camp or preseason either. It wasn't bull rushing guys into the court.
I mean, he was
not going to
taking
do that stuff, right?
Taking a lot of days off. And
even sight unseen, I'll take Harmon over Ogunjobi.
I think he'll make
a decent player.
I think he'll make more plays.
Yeah. I mean, even the rookie version versus an aging, hard to keep on the field type guy, I'll take Harmon. Lowry's Lowry. I like Benton a little more now than then, but that was also expected. I mean, like, I had high hopes, and he basically fulfilled them, so good. I always say his name wrong, but the Patriot dude they signed.
Ekulele.
He's another one, not like Parham. I put him a tier or two above him as a player. But I am kind of curious. Is he going to play nose? What is it?
I said Ekulele. It's Ekwali.
Ekwali. Okay, yeah. What I don't know what to make of him. So he's kind of an incomplete for me. But if I'm comparing him to Loudermilk or Lowry, I like him probably better now than I did those guys then. I was an Adams fan, and last season didn't go his way. I mean, 2 seasons ago I thought were really good. I thought he was one of the more underrated Steelers. So I felt really good about him leaving training camp, and that one didn't really come to fruition. Injuries had something to do with it. Lee's just like the Roman Wilson conversation.
Yeah, you just don't know.
We missing anyone?
I think that's it.
So I would lean towards now.
I think so.
I mean, I feel so much different about Cam. I didn't think he was, it was unbelievable last year, you know, where I thought, no, this might be the end.
Outside linebacker. Last year you had Watt, Highsmith. Still had DeMarvin Leal at that point.
I mean, he needs to be factored into this conversation somehow.
Yeah. And Nick Herbig, where your 4 outside backers coming out of camp, basically. And now it looks a little different. You got Watt and Highsmith. You also have Herbig.
Has our opinion on those 3 changed at all?
No, not a bit.
I mean, they're all 1 year
I actually
older.
might feel better about Herbig. I thought Herbig was better in year 2 than he had been in year 1.
Yeah, I was going to say, I mean, he might be, if we're grading on a 100 scale, he might have went from an 84 to an 86. You know what I mean? Where the other 2 don't change at all. It wasn't like, boy, they're a year older, year slower. I don't see that. So that's kind of a wash.
Leal's still just
Same.
don't know.
Yeah, same.
Then you've added Jeremiah Moon and Jack Sawyer to the mix as well.
There just wasn't a Sawyer last year.
Yeah. You had to go trade for a Sawyer.
Yeah. So better now.
Okay. Inside
Just
linebacker.
one more player more. You know?
Right, yeah. Queen, Peyton Wilson, I should say. Cole Holcomb, Malik Harrison, Mark Robinson. You got Devin Harper and Carson Bruner there as well. Last year, coming out of camp, it was Queen, Landon Roberts, Peyton Wilson, Mark Robinson, and Tyler Matakevich.
Okay. So this isn't the way we should do it, but I prefer Roberts to Harrison as a linebacker.
Okay.
But I think as currently constructed, Harrison's now your 4, where Roberts was your 2 or 3.
Right.
So if we look at the depth chart, if we rank them 1 through 4, Roberts is really fighting Holcomb or Wilson. You know what I mean? And I feel better about Wilson now than then. And I think he's ready to be not just a nickel dime. I may have had higher hopes for Queen then than now. I'm not saying he had a bad year, but I thought he might be a top 5. He was coming off a Pro Bowl with the Ravens.
Right.
I probably had a higher grade. I did have a higher grade on him then than now. Doesn't mean he can't get back to that, but I thought he might be a top 5 linebacker, and he wasn't a top 5 linebacker. I still think Holcomb's good. I mean, if Holcomb's your 3,
it's not bad.
It's not bad at all. Right.
Not bad. And to me, Carson Bruner is a younger, faster version of Matakevich.
Yeah, that's going to be a wash. Mark Robinson may or may not be here, but that's a wash too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's gotten a little better on defense too. I mean, he's a lifetime special teamer probably.
Probably.
But do you feel better about your top 3 today than then?
I feel
I
feel a lot better about Wilson now than I did going in. I had hopes for Wilson last year.
Yeah.
Now I've actually seen what it looks like, and
so I think
he's good.
Let's phrase it this way: 2024 Queen, Wilson / Roberts is your top 3. I think that's about equal to 2025 Queen, better Wilson, Holcomb, who I think is going to be backing up both guys.
Yeah.
And you didn't have a Harrison.
And you didn't
like you
have
don't
Harrison.
compare Harrison
Right.
to Roberts, you compare him to the number 4.
Yeah.
Which is a special teamer.
Which was Mark Robinson.
Which is Robinson, now he's a 5.
Yeah.
So you gained a spot on the depth chart almost, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's like one more body there too.
Yeah.
So I guess now, but I'd like to see
It's
Queen.
close.
Yeah, Queen could be better.
At cornerback, going into last season, it was Dante Jackson, Joey Porter Jr., Corey Trice, Darius Rush with Beanie Bishop as the nickel.
Yeah.
Now you're looking at Darius Slay, Joey Porter Jr., Corey Trice, James Pierre, who they added back after the season started last year, Kyler McMichael, Cameron McCutcheon, Sebastian Castro, Brandon Eccles. And then you've got
and Bishop's back.
Bishop as well.
It's close. I mean, Porter's really good.
Porter's very good, and this idea that he somehow had a down season last year, I don't get.
I wasn't going to phrase it that way, but I was going to phrase it that when we broke camp, I thought maybe he was going to be a top 5 corner.
Sure.
And he's just really good and not that yet. But that doesn't hurt his grade or make me worry about him.
We didn't know anything about Trice going into last year.
That's what I'm saying. Is I think just a little more knowledge is good.
Yeah.
Because he was a total unknown.
Total unknown.
I mean, he was just like the seventh-round pick version.
Yeah. He hadn't played.
If we could be fair to ourselves, what was our thoughts on Jackson then versus Slay now?
I thought Jackson was going to be good.
I thought he'd be better than he was, to be honest.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah. But Slay's had a way better career.
Slay's had a ridiculously better career.
I mean, Slay didn't have his best year last year, but it was still a good year, and it's a better year than Jackson ever had.
Yeah.
So I'll take my chances with an older Slay than the version of Jackson we were going into with.
And I think what you didn't have last year is Eccles.
I'm saying Eccles is the bonus prize.
Yeah. I mean, if you're going to, Eccles over a guy like Darius Rush, who I like Darius Rush.
We were kind of excited about him a little bit.
But
I remember talking about Rush and Trice then. Like, if
they might be the answer.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Who knows? They're free. You got one for a 7th-round pick, one you picked up for nothing.
You know way more now about Trice than you did
then. Yeah.
Rush, I don't even know if he's in the NFL right now.
I'm not sure if he is. Or definitely isn't guaranteed to make a team next year. And Bishop played a lot for you.
Played better than I thought he would.
Played better than you thought. I mean, we broke camp as an undrafted free agent making the team as one of the last guys on the roster. And he was more than that.
Yeah.
So better now.
Okay. Safety, you had Deshaun Elliott, Minka Fitzpatrick, Miles Killebrew, Juan Thornhill. This is what you have now, with Sebastian Castro and Joshua Bledsoe also on that roster. Last year, it was Elliott, Fitzpatrick, Miles Killebrew, DeMonte KZ, and Jalen Elliott breaking camp.
So if we go back to like the Queen conversation,
I had no idea what to expect from Elliott.
Right.
I think he was better.
Way exceeded
than
expectations.
What I thought he was going to be.
Yeah. I'm like, oh, that's a nice pickup. He looks like an okay starter.
Yeah.
Well, he's like really good now. So I feel way better about that player than I did then. I don't think any differently of Minka.
No.
I really don't. I don't care what the numbers say or any of that. I think he is one of the best safeties in the league.
And I like Thornhill's fit better than KZ's fit.
I think by a tier or two. I mean, I really don't even think that's close. And KZ was fine. We're talking about third safety.
He's not a bad player. He's a third safety. But I didn't want to have to play him in the box.
No.
Whereas I can do either with Thornhill and feel fine about it.
Thornhill's more talented.
Yeah.
He's taller. He's longer. He's faster. He's more versatile. I don't know if he's as good a tackler, but if he's your third safety, that's a positive, where KZ's not on a team right now.
Yeah.
Killebrew's the same. Did have some hope for Watts.
Yeah.
I mean, that's an unfortunate one. That was something I was starting to get excited about.
He wasn't on the roster when the season started last year. He was already hurt.
Oh, okay. So he doesn't count.
He didn't count.
Right. And unfortunately, when we have this same conversation, the day camp breaks in Latrobe, 3 or 4 of these dudes are going to get hurt too.
Yeah.
It's easier to say it now because everyone's healthy.
Again, that's why you build this depth.
Yeah. But they might add another body or two too.
Yeah. So
preferably a quarterback, but in addition to.
So that's what you're looking at that point.
Specialists are better now. Boz is even better than I thought he was. Like, I think he might be the best kicker in the league.
I think that is the case.
Yeah. I was really excited about
Johnston.
But he's going to be back.
He's back.
Right. I assume he's still the same guy.
Yeah.
Right.
So there's
and
that.
And you got Waitman floating around, who's an NFL punter.
Yeah. So anyways, that was just an interesting little aside there. Matt, time for a little fantasy football focus here.
All right.
As we did yesterday, we'll take a look at Pro Football Focus's rankings on the draft. We're going to look at running backs today, and this is PPR.
Oh, big. Okay, I'm glad you mentioned that, yeah.
Yeah, worth noting.
At this position, that's super important.
Because they have Bijan Robinson as their number 1 running back over Saquon Barkley, and I get it in a PPR format.
Yeah, I was going to say, boy, that sounds a little nuts. I love Bijan. I was, preparing to have this conversation with 2 things I wanted to bring up about Barkley. So I'm going to do that before I forget. If the tush push gets eliminated, that helps him. I mean, I bet he gets 2 or 3 more short rushes. Not that Hurts won't still score from the 1. But I heard this just since we got together last, and it adds up. I think he sat week 18. Remember, he could have gone for the record, but they're like, let's try to win the Super Bowl instead. But even including that, if you add up all of his touches, including going deep into the playoffs, obviously, to the Super Bowl. He had, I think, over 500 touches. He had more touches than any running back since DeMarco Murray's year that he was like the total bell cow. And it's been a while, but if you look at guys that had 500 or more, like 8 out of 10 of them only played like half a year the next year. Take that what you want. But, I mean, if you're using the first overall pick in your fantasy draft on Barkley, that would be my only concern.
Yeah.
You know, but it's a great situation. Would you take Bijan over him in PPR? They throw more.
They throw more. He
young quarterback dumping it to him.
Yeah.
It's pretty appealing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You wouldn't consider anybody else, though. Gibbs
No.
Okay.
Gibbs is their RB3.
That's what I'm saying. I bet he's in the next tier, though.
RB4 and 9th overall in their rankings, Ashton Genty.
I'm cool with that. Especially in PPR, I'd have him over Henry. I can't think who else I'd even be in the hunt for running back for.
This next guy, the guys right after him, at 14 overall and RB5, Devin Achane.
Right. That's a big drop to me. I mean,
I can't do that.
Those top 4 you're pretty happy with.
Now, RB5, or RB6, I should say, at 17 overall is Bucky Irving.
I might have him over Chan, but
I would definitely have him over Achane.
None of them would compete for the top 4, though.
He's going to score more touchdowns.
Yeah.
He does catch the ball.
Yeah. Doesn't seem like much, but that Ole Gordon pick hurts Achane, too. He was such a bad goal line back, but now he's probably not even going to be out there. I can't even imagine that plan. He's like the smallest guy in the field, and you're asking him to be the goal line back.
Are you hiding?
Right.
They were going to go do the little person
throw him over the top, right.
At 21 overall and RB7, Christian McCaffrey.
I'd probably roll the dice. I'd take him over Achane. In PPR.
I'd definitely take him over Achane.
I might take him over Irving. The thing is, you're never going to see any preseason stuff.
No, you're going to have no idea.
You're going to go into it blind. You're just going to have to trust the beat reporters, and who knows how much he practices.
Yeah.
It's a leap of faith.
At 22, RB8, Derrick Henry.
Non-PPR, would you put him ahead of the 3 above him? I'd take him over Chan.
You still get the receiving yards, though.
Right. It still matters.
Yeah. So it's not like they go away.
No, he's not going to get any. I mean, the beauty of
I think Achane is just rated too highly. That's
right. But he will catch passes. He's going to catch a lot more than Henry.
Yeah.
I think there's an argument for Henry to be 5 in standard.
At 23 is RB9, Josh Jacobs.
Yeah. I mean, he's another one's had quite the workload, but he does every year and he fights through it, you know.
Yeah. At 20,
there's not much competition.
No.
I mean, the Lloyd kid looks like a bust.
27, RB10 is Jonathan Taylor.
Love the player. He's missed like 11 games in the last 2 years.
Yeah.
And the quarterbacks, no matter who they are going to vulture some of it. He doesn't catch a lot of passes, but I love the player.
28, RB11 is Kyron Williams.
Pretty solid. So I just heard this, and I went back and double-checked it. Every year that McVay has been the head coach of the Rams, they have drafted a running back. I mean, not in the first round. There's all those times without a first-rounder, but they did again, and they're like, well, is that an indictment on Corum, or are they less happy with Williams? No, I think they draft one every year in the mid-rounds.
At 29 overall and RB12 is Kenneth Walker.
I think he's ready for a real bounce back. I think he's a tremendous player.
35 overall and RB13 is Joe Mixon.
I was so afraid of him last year. I thought he was hitting a wall. I didn't think he looked good at the end of his Bengals career. I was wrong. I mean, I think that offense will be better.
36 overall and RB14, James Cook.
He won't have the same touchdowns, but number one back in a great offense, I might have him higher than that.
I think I would.
Yeah.
37 overall, RB15, Chase Brown.
Yeah.
He does catch the football.
He does, and it's a really good offense. They throw in the red zone, though.
Yeah.
I just don't think he's great.
I don't think he is either.
Yeah. It doesn't always matter for fantasy.
At 38 and RB16, Breece Hall.
I don't know what to make of him. I've been in a bunch of trade talks in my dynasty league for him, and I'm wary to invest heavily in him.
If you're gonna bang Jonathan Taylor because
Right.
the quarterbacks are gonna vulture some carries and touchdowns away from him, I think you have to do the same thing with Breece Hall.
I know, and he's had a fair amount of wear and tear, and he's had some injuries. Like, I don't think I'm going to end up making the deal in this league because I don't trust them to that level. You know, I mean, they want early picks, and I'm not quite there.
At 39 and RB17, Omarion Hampton.
I get it. You might have to be a little patient for a month or so, right?
Yeah.
And Najee's probably not going to get hurt or get out of the way.
Right.
You know, that's sticky. I don't know that I could be in that camp.
At 40, and that's not his age, but it's close. RB18, Alvin Kamara.
He produces every year.
I don't love the situation though this year.
Oh, I hate the situation. I've hated it for a couple years.
Yeah.
New coordinator too doesn't scream. Real quick, back to Hampton. Would you take Harvey over him?
Yes.
I would too. And I'm not saying he's better, but it's just situation.
Right.
How about like Judkins?
No, he's coming up next
Henderson.
year. So.
Okay, yeah.
He's RB19 at 41 overall, so there's not a lot of difference here.
I hate the situation.
Yeah.
So back to the Browns. I didn't realize this either, but boy, have I crushed them for not drafting any offensive linemen. 4 of their starters are free agents after this year too. Like, what are you doing? It makes me crazy. Draft 2 running backs, 2 quarterbacks, and no linemen.
At 43, RB20 after Judkins at 19 is James Conner.
He had a really good year. A couple of these guys, I mean, everyone always talks about age 27.
I think this is where you win your draft.
Yeah, I'm saying this
area
isn't so
right here.
bad. Everyone's going to be like, he's a year older. He's so injury prone. Over the course of his career, he hasn't been that injury prone. He was early,
Yeah.
but he's been productive all the time.
RB21 is Chuba Hubbard.
I'll take that too.
Yeah.
He's got a good line.
Again, I think these are the guys you win with
yeah.
because RB22 at 60 overall is David Montgomery.
He's going to score. I
Yeah.
think they had like 30 rushing touchdowns last year.
Right. And he'll have 18 of them.
Yeah, double digits for sure.
61 overall, RB23 is Tony Pollard. I like Montgomery a hell of a lot more than I like Pollard.
Yeah, Pollard's the first name I was like, ooh, yeah. I mean, Spears is so similar to him, and they're not great. I mean, he wasn't bad last year, but
63 overall, RB24 is DeAndre Swift.
right now he's the only show in town.
Somebody else can go down that road.
I know. I don't trust him one bit, but I bet people will love him.
69, RB25 is Aaron Jones with the Vikings.
I'm going to run that back. My point before when we were talking about Connor was age 27, these guys all hit a cliff. Well, Kamara, Henry, McCaffrey. These guys are all producing when they're
All
out
from
there.
the same draft.
They're all from the same draft. Aaron Jones got 3 new linemen in Minnesota. Still pretty good.
71, RB26 is Harvey.
I'll go up on that one. I just don't think there's any competition. They want to run the ball.
72, RB27 is Isaiah Pacheco.
I'm shocked they didn't do more at running back. I never trust him because of style of play, but it's not
Look
bad.
what happened last year.
Yeah,
He busted up. 74 overall, and RB28 is Jalen Warren.
I was wondering who the top Steeler would be. PPR it should be Warren,
Yeah.
without question.
82 overall, RB29 is Brian Robinson.
Surprisingly, didn't get much competition. I like the Koski Merritt kid they took in the 7th round, but it's a 7th-round pick.
Yeah. 86 overall, RB30, Trevor Etienne.
That would scare
Or
me.
is that Travis? I can't remember. Travis.
He's Travis.
Yeah. I don't like it.
I think he may end up in Dallas or something like that because they drafted Tootin and they have Bigsby.
I thought somebody ended up in Dallas last year and it never
Yeah.
happened. 87 overall, and RB31 is Ramondre Stevenson.
So he's ahead of Henderson
Yeah.
in a PPR. I'm still a Stevenson believer, but I would definitely have Henderson over Stevenson in PPR.
89 overall, and RB32 is Javonte Williams.
He looks like the one. I don't think he's particularly good anymore, though.
At 90 and RB33 is Travion Henderson.
Okay, so they're close.
91 overall, RB34, Tyrone Tracy.
I don't think Scatterbo hurts him tragically.
Interestingly enough, they're right next to each other
Yeah,
because
I can see that,
Scatterbo's
yeah.
92 and RB35.
Okay, I would rather have Tracy in PPR.
93 and RB36 is Jordan Mason.
They traded for him. Direct handcuff to an older guy. I just said he's a Viking now, if people don't know.
Yeah.
I like Jones, but Jones has never been a full-time player, and they traded for this guy. It's a sneaky pick.
95 overall and RB37 is Caleb Johnson.
Cool. I could see that being the lowest his ADP is between now and when you make your real draft. I bet he starts to creep up boards.
97 overall and RB38 is Zach Charbonnet.
Okay. Clear two, but
yeah. At 102, RB39 is Tank Bigsby.
I guess. I kind of don't want any of their backs.
104 and RB40 is Rashad White.
PPR is,
Yeah.
I mean, he is a good receiver.
At RB41 at 107 is Tajay Spears.
I think there's still a lot there, and the line's better.
At 112.
I think Spears is closer to Pollard than these rankings indicate. Yeah.
112 and RB42 is Trey Benson.
He was pretty rough as a rookie.
Yeah.
Hard to trust.
At 122, RB43, Najee Harris.
Now, they had Hampton really high. I mean, they're really thinking it's going to be the rookie's backfield.
Yeah. At 126, RB44, Tyler Algier, all the way down there.
That's a really good handcuff.
Yeah.
Proven.
For the guy that you had as a number one back.
All right.
And I'm going to get him at 126.
If I'm the Bijan owner, I'm paying a higher price than that for it, for sure. I'm not sure he's one of these guys, but he's close. That if the guy in front of him is the missed time, I don't know if he's an RB1, but he's not far. I mean, is he the top 10 in all the RB ranks that week? Close.
Probably.
Pretty close.
Given all the timeshares and
right. You
those
just take
kind of
Bijan out of the equation. Right.
131, RB45 is Ray Davis.
Josh Allen's their short yardage back.
Yeah. The one game where he did have to play, though.
Oh, he's good.
He was good.
Yeah.
132, RB46 is Kendra Miller.
I don't think he's even going to be the 2. I think Neal will go past him.
135, RB47 is Rashawn Johnson.
I guess he is
the Bears.
2.
Yeah.
It's getting pretty thin right now.
It is.
Quicker than most years.
138.
This implies to me I
with
want
all
more
these rookies in this draft, too.
I mean, just start drafting rookies at this point.
RB48 is Blake Corum.
But they drafted a guy, too, as they always do.
RB49 is Rico Dowdell with the Panthers.
Looks like the clear handcuff on a run-first team. He's not bad.
We finally get to another rookie at RB50, and that's Bashal Tootin.
That's the third Jag mentioned, though.
Yeah.
I don't want
crowded backfield.
I don't want any of them.
Marshawn Lloyd is our RB51.
It's a bit of a leap of faith after nothing rookie season.
Jaleel McLaughlin is RB52.
I mean, in a PPR, if he's a third down guy. Man, this is thin, though.
Yeah, then you're looking at Isaac Garendo at 53. Ugh. Yuck.
Yeah, I think I'd take Jordan James over him.
Austin Eckler at 54.
He still has a little something left, PPR. But, man, you can't start any of these guys even close.
Trevor Etienne at 55. Another Carolina back.
He ended up in Carolina, yeah. I was trying to think where he ended up.
Jarquez Hunter.
Brooks isn't going to play this year.
At 56.
Though. Is he the Chief?
With the Rams.
Okay, and the Chiefs drafted a dude, and I forget they get those two flopped.
Audric Estime at RB57.
These are all like turn my stomach.
Ugh, I'm not liking any.
Right. These are all going to be in our league.
Actually, so they have J.K. Dobbins at RB58, Jaden Blue at 59.
I might roll a dice on Blue.
Braylon Allen at 60.
He's at least a clear, too.
Right. I don't get why he's so low.
Right. And these other ones that have like 3 competitors or 2 competitors.
There's
or
4 in some cases.
Right. There was even talk of Hall getting traded. What if he gets traded at the trade deadline or something?
Yeah.
No, I would take a shot on Allen that late.
Right in Miami at RB 61.
That's crowded too, though.
Dylan Sampson all the way down at RB 62 with the Browns.
I might be in on that.
DJ Giddens in Indianapolis at 63.
We mentioned how much Taylor gets hurt. I would imagine he's the number 2.
I don't understand why some of these guys are so far down as opposed to some of the guys who are in 3- and 4-way battles.
They're a little biased against the rookies, and I think that they're not looking at playing time enough.
Just looking here. Javonte Marks in Houston is 66. That's the second back.
He's probably the 2. Yeah.
Again, there's some value to be mined here. Jordan James is RB 71.
He might be the 2, and he might be McCaffrey's true handcuff.
Who else is? You can get Kareem Hunt right now at RB 77.
Is he a Chief?
Yeah.
Still? Yeah. I didn't know if he changed teams. He's okay. I mean, he's a little more reliable than some of the other options.
Yeah. It's just not.
Man, that drops off quick, though.
If you're looking for guys like sure things, guys who are going to get the ball on their teams 70% of the time, it's Robinson. And I don't even know that Robinson's going to get it 70%.
Right, it's a lot.
Because they do use Algier still quite a bit. Barkley, Gibbs is 50-50.
It's good offense, though.
Genty is going to get the football.
I think he may lead the league in touches.
Achan's not going to get.
No, I bet he gets even less.
Bucky Irving will.
He will.
McCaffrey's a no.
No, I think they're going to try to scale him back.
Derrick Henry's a yes.
Yeah, but he's not going to be out there. There's a lot of third downs. He's sitting on the sidelines.
Jacobs is a yes.
Yeah.
Taylor?
No.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to be out there on third downs.
Kyron Williams is a yes.
That's the nice part.
Yeah.
I don't think he's great, but he does all that stuff.
Kenneth Walker's got Charbonnet.
Walker's reception spiked last year.
Yeah.
But then he got hurt.
Mixon.
Yes. I think he still has that going for him.
James Cook.
Mostly. I don't think he gets any.
He's a free agent after this year. I think they're just going to use him up.
He's asking for crazy.
He wants crazy money.
And they might just be like, let's use him like crazy, send him on his way, draft one in the second round.
Yeah. Chase Brown?
He was last year.
I don't know if that's their plan for him.
I don't think any team used a singular running back a higher percentage of the time than the Bengals. Even when he was out, it was Moss all the time.
Breece Hall? I don't think he gets to 70. Allen's good.
Allen's good. A new staff. The old staff really seemed to like Allen.
Yeah. Hampton, I don't believe, is going to get 70%.
No.
Kamara's not going to get 70%.
No.
Judkins will.
Yeah.
Connor,
that's appealing, yeah.
Connor will.
Should, unless Benson comes on strong.
Hubbard will.
Yeah.
I would think. Well, they might use Dowdell a little bit more.
And they drafted ATN.
But they paid Hubbard.
Right.
Montgomery's a no.
No. But it's kind of
you're going to get the important ones.
Mm-hmm.
After that, like, is DeAndre Swift going to get 70% of the Bears touches?
I bet they add somebody between now and then. I don't know. Maybe it's J.K. Dobbins or who knows. But what's interesting to me is I loved your strategy 15 minutes ago when we got to like Connor or Montgomery neighborhood. You can make some money there.
Yeah.
But if you wait any longer, you're
done.
You're done. Right. Like you better.
Now you better draft like 5 rookies and hope.
Yeah. 1 or 2 hits, or you have to wait, or your bench is all these running backs hoping.
Just clogging up your bench for the first 2 months of the season.
Right. And then you're short everywhere else.
Yeah.
One injury destroys you. But I don't love the guys at the top either.
Yeah. I mean, we'll circle back around to this stuff when we get to training camp and we get a little more clarity in some of these situations, but it's rough.
It is rough. There wasn't a lot of them where I was going, oh, yeah, I'll take him there. And it's like, I'd settle for it.
It's way different than wide receiver, which we will do tomorrow.
Yeah. Okay. That's a much longer conversation.
Yeah.
But, like, if Bucky Irving is a top 15 pick, I get it, but is he a league winner? I don't know.
Yeah, it's rough. It's rough. Well, news this morning, the Steelers have traded wide receiver George Pickens to the Dallas Cowboys. The Steelers get a 3rd-round pick in next year's draft, in addition to a 5th-round pick in 2027. The Cowboys also get a 6th-round pick in 2027 from the Steelers.
Yep. I love the late pick swap. It's become such an Omar Khan thing, and it's exactly how I would handle NFL trades as well. That's not the story here, but it makes me chuckle. Did the same thing with Deontay. Did the same thing with Pickett. All the time. We're close. Just why don't we swap picks in a year or so? No reason to do it next year because you got a bunch, but you'll be happy about it 2 years.
Both move around,
right. But big news. It was shocking to wake up to, of course. I kind of thought once the draft had come and gone, it's probably unlikely, but I can't say I'm blown away anyways. They weren't going to pay him.
They weren't going to pay him. I don't know if – I don't know what George's reaction to that would have been, not knowing that he's not going to get paid. People had suggested maybe he would do a hold-in in training camp. I didn't think he would go that route because he still wants to get paid in the league.
Right.
But the bottom line is that he had become – I mean, how many times had Mike Tomlin been asked after a game or during the week about something that George had done?
A lot.
In the game or, that kind of thing.
And I think there's a lot more that he wasn't asked about.
That being said, Pickens is a talented player.
Extremely.
I would have been very interested to see what the offense looked like with DK Metcalf on one side and George Pickens on the other. I'm not going to talk out of both sides of my mouth.
No question.
I think that would have been a very intriguing prospect. Again, as I said before, I don't think you would have seen a safety within 15 yards of the line of scrimmage with those two guys out there. But that doesn't mean that you can't get that kind of production / play or fear, at the very least, out of somebody else over there.
Yeah, I cut to the chase. I think there's another shoe to drop.
Yes, something else is going to happen.
I would imagine, and I don't think it's a Van Jefferson level.
No.
Bring in and sign Skoranek, or I think it'll be something better than signing Robert Woods.
Yeah,
and we can talk through a million options, which will be fun.
Robert Woods just covers your butt.
Right,
cover your butt signing.
It's an okay, with or without Pickens, it's a fine move, whatever. But it's not a game changer. It's not a feature player. It's not somebody that more or less never leaves the field like Pickens and Metcalf would have, which no question would have been alluring. I mean, I'm sure you've seen many fans saying, well, now the receiver room looks just like last year. Kind of. Yeah, I mean,
but not really.
It's better, but it's kind of. Yeah, I mean, I see where you're saying,
Look at it this way.
But I don't think they're done.
We just did our segment earlier this week on how we feel about every position on the roster based on where we were at last year at this time and this year at this time.
Mm-hmm.
I feel better about Calvin Austin right now than I did a year ago at this time.
Agreed.
He is an actual NFL wide receiver. I mean,
he's taking a step forward. Yeah.
I feel I like Woods better than I like what they got from Jefferson.
I would say they're probably the same tier, but I hear what you're saying.
Skoranek wasn't on the team. I
think
he is a valuable piece to this whole equation. We don't know much about Roman Wilson, but I'll say this. Now, DK Metcalf has had some incidents in his career of explosiveness in terms of penalties and things.
Oh, he's got a lot of flags.
But not to the level of Pickens.
I think it's totally different. Like, I keep hearing DK Metcalf's a diva, he's a selfish guy. I don't think so. I think he gets riled up on the field and can get instigated, and people know it, and he needs to control that because he has gotten flagged.
He's gotten flagged for it.
But I don't think he's the distraction on Tuesday, Wednesday, on the sidelines, in the locker room that Pickens was, or in terms of popularity in the locker room. I think DK is going to win that contest. We'll leave it at that. Right. I mean, I don't know that Pickens had to go, but he was going, and whether it's a year from now or now, I mean, that's going to happen, I think. And it could be good for him.
To your point about why it happened now and not before or during the draft, I think other teams knew that.
I think Dallas wanted the big dude out of Arizona. I think they wanted Ted McMillan.
Well, I think that right before the draft, Jerry Jones comes out and said, we got a couple of trades in the works.
I'm sure they were talking with the Steelers.
That immediately piqued my interest. I'm like, okay, they need a receiver.
They need a receiver.
the Steelers could be potentially in the market for, to move a receiver here. But I don't think that the Cowboys at that time were willing to offer a third-round draft pick.
I think it was Justina Anderson said they were offering more or less a fourth.
Which, all right, I'm not interested in moving him for a 4.
Right. Like I liked Eric Enyeminer or the Stanford kid.
Yeah.
But that's not an even swap.
No.
I would rather have the assets for later to maybe go get a veteran, names that we'll talk about. And if I'm the Cowboys, man, I think I got a shot at T-Mac here. That's who I really want. Obviously, they didn't want Golden. We could probably call Amari Cooper if we have to, but I'd rather roll with Pickens, highly motivated, opening room for Lamb. It makes a lot of sense to me for Dallas. If Dallas, after the year, wants nothing to do with them, they'll probably get a comp pick for him at some point. They're not a team that ever goes out shopping outside the organization. So it's a minimal investment for them, which could pay off huge. Maybe they love him and extend him, who's to say? But for them, it makes a ton of sense. For the Steelers, if you were not insistent, but strongly under the motivation that after the Metcalf trade that he's not going to be here long or he's on his way out, now's as good a time to do it as any because you got a lot of time between now and opening day, contrary to popular belief. Oh, now what are they going to do? They got a lot of time to figure that out, for one thing.
They have a lot more draft capital with which to
much
work.
Draft capital, too, right.
Yeah.
They're not going to make all those picks next year.
They are not. And, again, this goes back to the whole plan part of this process. If you had traded – I'm just calling up this year's draft. If you had traded him for a 4.
Yeah, Cowboys 4th or whatever.
The Cowboys 4 would have been – I'm just looking to see who was available here. Did they even own their 4? Doesn't look like they did. Yeah, okay. So Carolina used that pick. I don't know when they traded that.
Yeah, I don't know how they ended up with it, but okay, fair enough.
On Trevor Etienne. It was the 114th pick in the draft.
Okay.
George Pickens for the 114th pick in the draft.
In this draft? Yeah, I get it done.
And now I'm looking here to see.
It's not a wide receiver rich draft
what
anyway.
Receivers. Now, the Steelers took Jack Sawyer at 123.
Like I immediately thought maybe Sawyer wouldn't have been the pick there.
Yeah.
Who knows? I mean, there would have been a butterfly effect.
Jalen Royals went to the Chiefs at 133.
I was a little shocked he fell. That would be kind of intriguing.
Emenor went at 136.
Yeah, I knew they were the two guys I thought, too, that fell more than you thought.
But those guys aren't 1-for-1 replacements for George Pickens.
Not even close. I mean, not even close. And you still would be looking.
You would still be looking for a veteran player.
Would you really be brokenhearted if one of those two was in Pittsburgh right now?
Not at all.
Not at all. It'd be
I
great.
like both of those players.
But they'd be like a Roman Wilson.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see. I mean, it's...
And maybe, just maybe, the Steelers looked at what happened with Roman Wilson last year and said, okay, we really liked this player a year ago at this time.
It's pretty easy to get excited about guys on draft day.
But the problem with rookies is you have no track record with them.
No. That's
none.
What I mean, right. They get here and then you don't know.
You don't know what the guy's practice habits are.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know, does he play through injuries?
Yeah.
In the case of Royals, he's coming off of a major injury.
Ability to learn.
Right.
Just
all that stuff.
Press man coverage. We didn't see a lot of it, but we think he can do it. Well, maybe he can't.
Right.
Or can't yet, or whatever.
Yeah.
I need a guy. So again, if they're done, if this is the wide receiver room on opening day, I'll probably be critical.
Yeah.
And but I really think there's another shoe to drop.
And so you start looking at, again, so now going into next year's draft, they got their first.
Yeah.
They got a second.
Yep.
3/3.
3/3, right.
3/3.
Yeah.
2 4s, 2 5s, 2 6s, and a 7.
And a 7. You're not going to make all those
They're not
picks.
going to make all those picks.
And everyone, obviously, we've talked this to no end, too. Next draft very well could be the quarterback draft for the Steelers. Move up, go get Josh Allen or Mahomes, hopefully. But 5th and 6th and 4th don't get you real far in the first round.
No.
They're
but
lovely
they
to
will
have.
get you a veteran player.
Oh, they can get you a veteran player. I mean, between now and the trade deadline, you can get a lot for a 4th-round pick. Especially with the cap space the Steelers have.
Yeah, especially, and people might say, "Well, you're saying you wouldn't have taken a 4th for George Pickens." There's a difference here.
There's a big difference.
He's a player who's still on his rookie contract,
right?
As opposed to paying some salary for a guy.
Right.
The higher the salary, the lower the pick I'm going to give up.
That happens all the time. Right?
And the same with a little older player, I'm not going to give up a third-round draft pick.
You see a lot of name brand dudes going for 6 and 7s this time of year or in camp because of money.
Yeah.
Right.
Teams just want to, he's not in our plans. Or teams come out of the draft.
There's a couple teams that drafted 2 receivers.
Hello, Chicago Bears. Hello, Houston Texans.
Packers.
Yep.
Yeah. That all of a sudden, boy, he's a big cap hit. We'd like the future pick and go from there. There's a lot of these guys that are interesting that way. Now, I don't know if any of these names that we'll bring up are truly available or not, but I will say 2 things. Players are more available across the league than people think. And not that everyone has a price. I'd sell my mom for the right thing. You can get guys. Wide receivers in particular aren't that hard to acquire. Now, everyone listens like, well, what about last offseason with Ayuk? The Steelers had some troubles. But
here's
receivers move all the time.
Receivers did move last year.
I know. The Steelers didn't land any, and there were so many and all that, but they move like crazy, that position.
The guys that they were trying to get a true number, like they wanted that really almost a number 1.
Right, and Ayuk would have been 1.
If they'd have traded for Ayuk is your number 1 and George Pickens is your 2.
Oh, yeah.
Because
it's like the Metcalf deal, right, yeah.
They weren't real interested in, going long-term with George at that point.
Right. I mean, I think the writing was on the wall, and they wanted a 2, and it didn't happen. But that doesn't mean it's
But they were ready to make the deal.
Right.
They were willing to make the deal.
You're right. And receivers aren't the most – it's not like trading for a left tackle.
Yeah.
I mean, you can get receivers. And I've got a list of ones that would be real easy to get, a couple that are free agents, some that are bigger names that I don't know would be available or not. But they're options.
Well, let's start with the free agent guys.
Okay.
So right now you got Amari Cooper's out there. Gabe Davis was just cut today.
Yeah.
You've got
Keenan Allen.
Keenan Allen is still out there. Beyond that, I don't know that there's a lot that I'm super interested in.
Those are the 3 for me. And let's break them down a little bit. Because to me, Gabe Davis is not the answer, but he's free.
Wouldn't cost you a thing.
He has some similarities play style to Pickens in that he's fast. He's a downfield guy.
He would fit not necessarily as your all the time number 2.
Right.
But if I put him out there with DK Metcalf, you're back to the situation again where the safeties aren't going to be anywhere near the line of scrimmage.
Right. I mean, he's a vertical outside the numbers. And the fact that he's free and maybe league minimum contract is appealing to me. I've never been a big Gabe Davis fan. There's plenty of receipts, as they say, when the Jags signed him. I'm like, that's a terrible signing, But
for what they wanted him to do, they wanted him to be like a number 2.
Right. He's
like
a 3
time.
or a 4. Yeah. He's a rotational with Austin at times. He's bigger. He can get downfield. Keenan Allen is slow.
always has been slow.
And now he's slower than ever.
He didn't get any faster in his 30s.
No. But on 3rd and 8, he'll get you 9. On 3rd and 5, he'll get you 6. And he is an old man game that I think still translates some. Mostly slot, though. I would be more in the market
he's
for
pretty
an
much all
X.
slot.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be more in the market for a bigger X-type guy. And that's Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
So I did a lot of Amari Cooper homework this morning, and a lot of it I stole from Matt Harmon, our wide receiver dude, and he laid it out really well. And frankly, Matt said, I don't know if he might be spent. I don't know. But he said he had the weirdest year last year per his charting. When he was a Brown, he was open all the time, and the quarterbacks couldn't give him the ball.
Yeah.
When he was a Bill, he was never open, and the quarterback could give him the ball. Now, I thought at the time, is he jumping on a moving train?
That tells me he's jumping on a moving train. He's not sure of the offense,
right,
and what he's supposed to be doing out there. You don't go from being a guy that is getting open to then changing teams and you can't get open.
Right,
playing a lot of the same teams.
Right,
you're thinking too much out there.
The other thing is he got injured before he ever, like the day they traded for him, it went like 2 or 3 weeks before he even got on the field.
Yeah.
Because I don't think he got injured as a Brown. I think he got injured in practice like day 2 in a Bills uniform. So if you give him the benefit of the doubt and be like, he doesn't know the offense, he's trying to get on a moving train, They're a playoff team that the train's going a million miles an hour, and he might be injured or he's playing through an injury, but he's also not signed for a reason. He's on the market now. But he was linked to the Cowboys up until this morning.
Right.
And I don't know if he burned that bridge or how that went with them last time. But
he may not have even wanted to go there.
He may not want to go back.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's been a Cowboy. So he would be free, too. He doesn't cost you a draft pick. He's had a weird career, but he's not young. But those are the 3 free agents. A name I have to throw out there, which sounds better than it is. I think he's still a Jet, but is Alan Lazard a free agent?
He's still a Jet. He just took a pay cut to stay with the Jets.
I knew there was stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone knows he's...
You could probably get him for a 7th.
For a 7th, yeah. I mean, he's Aaron Rodgers' buddy. He's his whoopee. But he's not a terrible player. But I think he's more the Gabe Davis of... He's not the answer either. You know, like, I'd take Lazard over Woods now.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't
take
take
younger player. He's proven with Aaron Rodgers. He's caught a lot of touchdown passes from Aaron Rodgers.
He's had a better career than you think, and he's not just Rodgers' buddy. You know, I mean, he's a good football player. But he's not George Pickens either.
No.
You know, it's not like, oh, the room's great now. Again, for a 7th, I mean, those are the guys that I basically were calling free agents.
If you start looking at guys who could be available, now you're looking
this
at... This
list is more interesting. That would cost you one of these picks we're talking about.
Immediately after the draft, and we even kind of talked about this earlier in the week, I think DJ Moore could be available.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, their first pick was a tight end. They already have Cole Kmet. That implies they're going to play a lot of 2 tight end sets. They drafted Rome Odunze in the first round and Luther Burden in the second round this year. And Ben Johnson, the head coach of the Bears, came out and said, basically, if you read between the lines, there were a lot of routes he didn't like DJ Moore's effort last year. Now, he's probably right. I haven't watched every bit of him, but he doesn't have that long-term reputation. He's not a dog. It was
if you trade
everyone
for
got
him,
fired in
so
Chicago.
Here's the thing with Moore.
Year.
If you trade for DJ Moore, he's essentially working on a bunch of 1-year deals.
I would say I don't know his contract, but they did just give him money recently.
So his base salary this year is $20.65.
Okay, they might want that off the books.
Next year it's $23.485.
Okay.
The following year it's $23.485. The following year after that $23.485. You're not paying any signing bonus.
So they did that.
They've done that.
And 23 might sound like a lot, but it doesn't 3 years from now, 4 years from now, 5 years from now. And again, they are like
if you were signing a free agent wide receiver, that would be the going rate for a receiver.
Yeah,
actually, probably less than the going rate for a receiver of DJ Moore's talents.
Yes, with a lot of guaranteed money in the deal that you don't have to be involved in. Now, I don't know if the Bears would move him or not. I mean, trust me, half of Twitter is telling me. I put it on Twitter as soon as I saw him, like DJ Moore ? Half of Twitter's telling me, oh, I love that for the Steelers. That's the best fit I've heard yet. Bears fans, no way. He's our number 1. We love him. Their moves don't imply that.
You drafted one in the first round last year.
Right.
You drafted more this year. You drafted a first-round tight end.
Right. I mean, if I'm the Bears, how about that pick you just got? Send me for DJ Moore. All right. And, of course, Omar will be like, well, we'll do a pick swap.
And essentially, you'd be trading George Pickens for DJ Moore.
That'd be great, fine for the Steelers.
Yeah,
and you $20 million a year, $24 million a year, or whatever. And then if I'm the Bears, I might be like, "Hey, Keenan Allen, you want to be our slot again? Teach these young pups."
Yeah,
you know, like they wouldn't have to be done either. I'm just trying to think the teams that might move a player. That one to me is probably the best player you could get.
You mentioned Michael Pittman when we were chatting about this earlier.
I have mixed feelings about that one. Because he had a back stuff. No one used to have a back injury.
Yeah.
But he's pretty expensive.
It's not that expensive.
Really?
$18 million this year.
Okay.
$22 million next year. And then he's a free agent.
Coming off kind of a down year, but he's not old. I kind of like it. I mean, I don't like back hearing that, but I think Downs is probably their leading receiver. They also drafted a tight end.
They drafted a tight end as well.
They might need capital for a quarterback. They've got a lot of pass catchers. I mean, Adonai Mitchell and Pierce. He would be a good fit here. I mean, he blocks. He's tough. He's like a better Juju to me. with more outside capability.
Now, another one that you mentioned, Tyreek Hill. The problem with Tyreek Hill, he's 31.
Right.
Now, his base salary is just $10 million.
Mm-hmm.
But for Miami to move him, it would cost, it's a $56.9 million cap hit. They got a lot of dead money there.
Yeah, and he has some allegations out there, and that wouldn't help the drama in your building anymore. Yeah. And I think he's declining. I mean, but his injuries were like a broken arm or something last year. It was something upper body. But he can still scoot, and you would never see anybody in the box with him and Metcalf.
Yeah.
But that's a volatile move.
Yeah.
I mean, I
can't see the Dolphins doing that just because I don't know that they can take on that kind of dead cap.
Yeah, I don't think they're in the point where
it would actually cost them $27 million to make that move.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if that's worth it for them because I think their seat's getting hot too, and they need to win.
Jacoby Myers.
Mm-hmm.
I think everybody who's regular listeners to the show know our appreciation of Jacoby Myers.
He's a real solid number two.
His cap hit this year is $10.5 million.
Okay.
They would actually save by releasing him about $6 million in cap space.
Okay. Which I think they have a lot, but I don't know if he's in their long-term plans.
He's 29.
Jack Besh is a little bit like him already.
Yeah.
They just drafted.
If they get through, let's say they get into their camp here and they say, you know what, this Beck kid's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
We can roll with this.
Bowers is their one.
Yeah.
The offense is going to go through
We're going to run the ball anyways.
Yeah, it's going to go through Genty. I just think he wouldn't be that hard to pry away.
Yeah. I would certainly be interested in that.
Yeah.
I don't see Brandon Ayuk getting.
No, I don't either. I threw him out there, but I don't. I think he's the least likely to move.
So his cap hit this year for the 49ers is just $9.9 million.
Mm-hmm.
Next year,
just signed him. Right.
Next year it's 15.3. His base salaries make him very attractive.
Right.
But he's not going to be back until the middle of the season.
I know.
So you're not going to make a trade for him.
It's pretty rare for someone to sign the week before, the summer before,
right,
and then get dealt.
But could you get Christian Kirk now off of?
I think that'd be an easy one.
They gave up a
7.
A 7 for him.
Because remember, the Jags were going to cut him, and then they would never trade him in division otherwise. They got one offer. We'll give you a 7 for him instead of cutting him.
I think you could go to Houston and say, hey, we'll give you a 6.
We'll give you a 6. Or
they're feeling good about that, even if it's,
They just drafted the 2 Iowa State kids.
They drafted both Iowa State kids. His base salary this year is only $1.255 million. It doesn't even affect your salary cap at all.
It doesn't hurt at all. I mean, he's more slot, but he can handle the outside. He's better than what you got. He's clearly your 2.
They were going to trade for him last year at the deadline.
I would say there's already been interest. I mean, to me, that'd be a pretty easy one, even if it's a 5th. You want to turn your 7th into a 5th? All right, we'll do it.
We'll give you a 5. You give us a 6.
How about a pick swap? In 2 years
you're getting into the 5th row.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that one could easily happen.
And it clears out your room a little bit.
Yeah.
Opens up some spots for these young guys that you just drafted.
Yeah. Did you really plan on
You've
taking
never
both
seen
Iowa
Christian
State
Kirk
kids?
in your uniform before. Why not move him?
Right. You had him for a little bit. You upgraded your pick. I'm sure their plan was not we're going to draft both Iowa State kids. It was we like them both, and he's still there. Let's get the other one too.
Yeah.
Packers also drafted 2. Watson's basically out for the year.
He's done. Yeah, you're not going to get.
Don't even think about him. But I think Romeo Doubs, I
think you could get Doubs off.
I think you could get Doubs. That would be the name. And I think Rodgers played with him for a year.
Yeah.
So good or bad, but I think it factors in. He's fine. I don't love him, but I think I'd rather Myers, but I think he's good. I mean, I think he's probably
not a bad
a 3
football player. I mean, if you're looking at Dobbs versus Lazard.
Yeah. I'd probably take the younger guy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I'd rather Myers. I'd rather have a couple of these bigger names, but it's not bad, and he's young.
Yeah. And he's been productive in that offense, so I wouldn't have a problem with that.
I don't think I had any other names. I think that's about it.
And there'll be some guys as we get into once teams get these rookies into their OTA sessions and start, okay, this kid's learning pretty fast.
Yeah.
I think we can maybe move on from this veteran guy or anything. Those are going to happen.
Those are going to happen. So I think there's some options, that
probably more so than what there were last year.
Probably. And definitely I know that's a long way down the road, but trade deadline there'll be a lot more because there'll be teams that think they're in it that aren't. If that's something you want to do, and you could get something better than a Mike Williams edition. You know?
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Matt, as I mentioned before the break there, Omar Khan decided that he was going to come out and give a little impromptu press conference.
Yeah.
Coming out of the trade of George Pickens to the Dallas Cowboys for 3rd and 5th round picks, and the Steelers also gave away a 6th round pick.
Mm-hmm.
He said the deal came together pretty quickly.
Really?
The Cowboys called them earlier this week.
Post-draft. Yeah.
Like all the stuff that you've heard out there, not true.
Okay.
He said it was this week. They made an offer. He said it was an offer that was serious enough that they decided to talk about it. We got to consider this.
Go to the table and chatted about it, huh? Said
he also spoke to David Mulgada, who is Pickens' agent.
Okay.
And said, "Hey, what's the situation with George? Where are we at here?" And they all came to an agreement that, hey, this is probably best thing to cut ties here and accept that deal. And
not that they need George's permission or
no, they didn't need it. But
right.
He said he has a very good relationship with the agent, and and
people don't think about that enough. But teams and agents all have different relationships.
Yeah,
and sometimes it can really be fruitful to really mine those relationships.
He said, as he said, it just was a deal that made sense for both sides.
Mm-hmm. I think it made a lot of sense.
We needed
Dallas,
a fresh start. We needed a fresh start. George needs a fresh start.
Dallas needs a receiver.
Yeah.
Right. And good. I mean, it seemed like I know that they're getting some criticism now. They're right back to where they were in with the wide receiver room as they were last year. I think it makes all the sense in the world. I mean, the timing of it's fine. You're getting a quality pick. Now you need to do another step to this,
right?
And I haven't listened to the press conference, and I wasn't there.
We'll hear it later in the show.
Yeah, that'd be cool. But rarely do you see a deal like this right after the draft. A lot of times it happens during. But we've talked about this a bunch. There wasn't a lot of wide receivers that would have made a huge difference to me. Especially for this year.
I've had people throw, they instead of taking Jack Sawyer, they could have taken a wide receiver. I'm like, they could have.
They could have, right.
But
maybe they would have if Pickens wasn't
That guy's not replacing George Pickens.
Right. And there's an argument for that, but we're talking about 4th-round pick swap. I mean, we're not talking about, where they were taking Ibuka.
Well, they took those 2 special teams guys in the 7th round. Again, a 7th-round receiver is not replacing George Pickens.
I hope he doesn't go past Roman Wilson in Austin. And,
right.
I hope he does, but, chances of it are slim, right?
Yeah. A veteran makes a lot more sense.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
It just does.
Yeah.
You don't throw another rookie into that room that already is reasonably young in that regard. And as Khan said, hey, that we know. He said, people are saying that the people that say that we're back in the same situation that we were last year.
Oh, he addressed that?
Yeah. He said, that's not the case.
Right.
We know way more about the guys who were on the – remember, last year, going into the season, Calvin Austin was coming off his first NFL season.
There wasn't a lot to go off of there.
He had 16 catches.
Mm-hmm. You got to feel a ton better about him.
You feel
now.
way better about him
right.
now. He said – we got to see – now, we didn't get to see Roman Wilson during the season last year, but we did get to see him practice for the last month of the year.
And he was in meeting rooms all day, all year.
He was in the meeting rooms. And we've
a
also
ton more about him than a year ago.
Gotten to see him the last couple of weeks. They have some OTAs going on now.
Mm-hmm.
Now, they're not real in-depth, but, but the veteran players are coming into the building and working out and doing it. So they have another year of experience now with Wilson as well, whereas last year at this time, he's going through rookie minicamp.
Right. He's just like Sawyer and Black and Harmon and all those dudes. You love their college tape. You love the 15 minutes you sat down with them at the combine.
Right.
Which is nothing
the
compared
phone
to,
call you had after drafting them. Hey, thanks. Okay,
right.
we're good.
So this was kind of dawned on me, but I think it also goes without saying. But like comparing Roman Wilson to anyone you just drafted, think about if you had the opportunity to take Harmon or whoever you drafted and sit them in your defensive line meeting room for even one meeting, next to Cam Hayward before you drafted him and you learned that much about him and even trotted him out on the practice field once, how much you'd gain from that. That's better than a 15-minute combine meeting, just that in itself.
Oh, without a doubt.
And you did that for a whole year.
What questions is he asking?
Right, right.
How does he,
right.
Is he looking at me like all starry-eyed, I have no idea what you're talking about?
Right. When I'm not going to mention the kid's name because he's a good young. He's probably a man. He's probably his kids now. But when we were recruiting a quarterback from around here one year at Pitt, we had a real pro-style offense, and he was around a lot. And he sat in the quarterback meeting rooms. He was committed, and realized, I don't know what the heck you guys are talking about. This is way over my head. I'm not going to be able to learn this. I'm not coming here. And it worked out for the better for us, to be honest. We ended up with Joe Flacco, who's an NFL player. But knowing that was like, ooh, I'm not sure he's getting it. And he was like, I'm not getting this at all.
You guys are
right.
So it reminds me, what you just said reminds me, when I transferred to Pitt Johnstown,
mm-hmm.
I'm trying to think of what class
stalwart academic organization.
Absolutely. The Harvard of the Appalachian,
right.
Central Pennsylvania. I transferred. I was a biology major.
Okay.
And I transferred in, and I sat down with the advisor,
mm-hmm.
and he signed me up for this class. And I go in for the first class. I transferred in January. I go in, I sit down for the class, and the professor immediately says, all right, let's pick up where we left off last semester on page 287. I'm like, what?
I didn't do any of those chapters.
I didn't have Calculus 1. I'm in Calculus 2.
Yeah. And we're just going to keep it's just to be continued.
I'm like, this is not going to work.
Yeah.
And so I dropped that class immediately. I'm like, no.
And I realized you are not a biology major anymore.
I am not.
Right, and never were. Didn't last much longer in that field and found your righteous path. Right.
I was not a good biology major.
Oh, that sounds like a rough one too. Yeah. But no, again, back to Omar. You know a ton more about Austin. You know a ton more about Wilson. Good or bad.
Right.
With him. Austin, I think, is all good because it's on the field. We've seen it. Our listeners can say I know more about Austin. You know a lot about DK Metcalf.
A lot.
A lot.
A lot.
And Skoranek.
Let me ask you this. Who's the better player right now? DK Metcalf or George Pickens?
Metcalf.
I think so too, but there are people on our message board on YouTube arguing the opposite. Like,
I don't think so.
They have the same stats. No, they don't.
I don't know even their stats.
And I don't care about the stats.
I think George is a really good player.
And I'm not trashing George Pickens, but
DK
like Metcalf,
one's awesome. Right.
DK Metcalf has been to Pro Bowls.
Yes.
DK Metcalf has done this year in and year out,
mm-hmm.
and hasn't been the off-field distraction.
It was fantasy related, but yesterday I was listening to one of Warren Sharp's real nerdy podcasts about just this trade. It was like 15, 20 minutes. And they were talking about the percentage of Arthur Smith routes with the Titans, namely A.J. Brown, but also Corey Davis, that were in-breaking routes, slants, digs, posts. George doesn't do much of that. And you don't think of Metcalf in that same manner. You think of him as a straight-line speedster, like a drag racer, but that's not what he is anymore. He's a killer on slants, and
because you can't press him.
Because you can't press him, and he's much better at in-breaking routes than you would have thought coming out of Mississippi, where A.J. Brown was at too. Yeah. Particularly for this offense, the answer is Metcalf to me because they both can get deep down the sideline.
Yeah.
George might be more talented.
I would say that's arguably the case.
Metcalf's a weird one to say talent though, because he's really, really big and he's really fast.
Physically gifted. Yeah,
right. He has some traits that are rare.
It's him and Calvin Austin or Calvin Johnson when you're talking about guys that size that ran that fast.
Right.
That's it.
That's
like
those
two
guys.
List.
Right. 100%. Just size, speed. He's as good as you're ever going to see. So that's a pretty big portion of the talent pie right there.
Yeah.
But I think Metcalf's a better player.
But Pickens,
he's definitely more consistent.
He's more consistent. Pickens is the better contested catch guy.
Oh, yeah. That's really not Metcalf's game.
But that's not Metcalf's game.
Right.
Pickens might be the best contested catch guy in the league.
Right. He's right.
Now that DeAndre Hopkins has kind of tailed off.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a different style. I think they're both top 20 to even top 15 wide receivers. I'd have to start putting
There's a lot in the league
names
too.
on a list. But I think Metcalf is better, and I think he is better. To your point, a better fit for what they want to do.
And let's just say, game-to-game consistency was not Pickens' strong suit too. Again, he might be one of the top 5 receivers in the league when his career's all over.
Sure.
I mean, I think his ceiling's as high as anyone out there. I mean, but you can't have 0 catch games or some of that kind of stuff.
The game against the Bengals last year.
Yeah. And this is
3 critical drops and this isn't kicking him on his way out the door. I've said this all along. He had the worst game of his career in that game.
Yeah.
Period.
Right.
If he catches any one of those passes, they win that football game.
Yeah. And it was early in the year. It was a lot of the Fields time. There's a lot of jogging through routes. And, yes, there's some highlight blocks in his career, but usually it's like on the backside. No one's running behind him, But I'm a Pickens fan.
I think he's a fabulous
not kicking him on the way out
football
the door.
player.
Right.
And I think he's going to do very good things in Dallas.
Yeah.
And people are going to kill Omar Khan over it. Oh, I can't believe he gave that guy up. Until the first game that he has where he gets like 2 targets.
Yeah.
And then you're going to see the George Pickens that we saw here in Pittsburgh.
Unless he grows up.
And maybe he will. And I hope for his sake he does.
How many times we said you're allowed to get better?
Yeah.
You're allowed to get better. You're allowed to mature. You're allowed
and
to
maybe
do
this is
things.
a wake-up call that he needed.
I'm hoping it is for him. He could be tremendous. I mean, that could be one of the best pairings in the league.
Sure.
There's no question. I see why Dallas did it.
Yeah, absolutely. But it just wasn't. I think part of the issue was here. There was nobody else that was on his level, and he knew that.
He knew that, but anyone could see that.
What are they going to do? They're going to bench me?
Right.
100%.
100%.
Can't bench me.
Right.
I'm George Pickens. They don't have anybody else that's even close to me.
Van Jefferson's not close.
Right, he's
Allen
not pushing
Robinson
me at
wasn't
all.
Close. I mean, any of those dudes. A lot of the guys that he saw a lot of snaps on the field with the ones, they weren't close to him. And anyone could see that. Everyone in the stadium saw that.
Yeah.
Every defense saw it.
So I think some of the behavior might have been with that. Because of that. Like, I can get away with this.
I got a long leash. I'm the best guy in the position.
I can show up late for this because what are they going to do? Bench me?
Mm-hmm. No chance. I'm better than all these dudes. I run drills with them all day long.
I can tell. They fined him multiple times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's well documented too, right?
The league fined him multiple times. Like,
kind of had to go.
Yeah, it's just and again, when Khan is talking to his agent, the agent has the player's best interest in mind as well. And if I'm the agent, I'm going, well, yeah, Dallas would be a better situation in terms of you got your true number one. Not that this would have been a bad situation for him with Metcalf there. But I do think a change of scenery
I could see the allure needed for him and the agent to go Dallas too. I mean, Dak's been the quarterback for a long time. He's got a lot of pelts on the wall there, and CeeDee Lamb's clearly the one. Now, George is going to have to understand that or flourish with Lamb getting more targets than him, which could happen. It could.
But in reality, the Steelers actually did him a favor.
In a way.
This isn't them sending Deontay Johnson to Carolina.
Oh, there's bad destinations and good destinations, and this was a good one.
Yeah.
I mean, they're a contending team with a quarterback and a lot of playing time opportunity for him, too.
That being said, I do think that the Steelers' options were probably limited. Nobody even pre-draft, even during the draft. Nobody else was. There weren't 31 teams calling the Steelers about the availability of George Pickens. There just weren't.
There might have been a couple kicks of the tires, but probably one team was truly buying.
Yeah,
maybe 2.
And it wasn't Dallas. Dallas wasn't interested in George Pickens during the draft.
Oh, during the draft, you're talking about. Okay,
that all came to fruition here in the last few days.
Okay.
So
they did seem set on Ted McMillan.
Yeah, I think they thought they were going to get him, and then when they didn't, they're like, okay.
And I guess there was a lot of talks between them and Amari Cooper too, post-draft or around the draft,
Yeah.
So maybe they said, oh, this is a better option.
Yeah.
Not to McMillan. They didn't have a chance at McMillan.
And we'll see if it turns out to be the case or not. I don't know. But, so I think the Steelers looked at this and said, hey, we can get this pick now for this guy in what I think is going to be a really loaded draft next year.
This draft wasn't.
This draft was not.
I mean, we did 8 million mock drafts, and I've said over and over, if you were picking 4, 5, 6, it wasn't a great spot to be in. There weren't tackles. There weren't premium positions that are hard to find.
Yeah.
It was the weakest draft I can remember.
Think about it as when we went through our early mock drafts right after the draft, some of the stuff that was out there. How many offensive tackles were in that first round? How many quarterbacks were in that first round? Like premium pass rushers. It was loaded with those guys.
Yeah, and to me, we often talk about, like, we don't know if next year's quarterback class is better or worse, and everyone could transfer and blah, blah, blah. But I'll roll the dice that next year's draft is better than this year's draft, head to toe. I mean, this was just a weak draft, and I thought that all along. Mason Graham's going 4, it's like, or 5, like, Will Campbell's going 4. I mean, those aren't knock your socks off top prospects.
Yeah.
I
mean, I liked the quarterbacks in this draft. I didn't love the quarterback. There's a reason why only 2 went in the first round.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the 2 that everybody thought it was going to be.
No, one of them wasn't. Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But anyways, it's we'll see how this all works out. And
I don't think they're done at receiver.
I don't think they are either.
What he said about that, or if he addressed it, but I mean, don't totally judge it until they go to play football. Yeah, again, it's beginning of May.
Nor do I think they're going to wait until the trade deadline.
Right.
To fill this position.
That's a long way away.
Because somebody brought that up. Well, they're just going to do what they did last year and wait until the trade deadline. No, I don't think they will. They tried several different times. Yeah, a lot.
It was a pretty bad kept secret. Right.
It was the worst kept secret in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
They tried to get Brandon Ayuk. They had a deal in place for Christian Kirk.
Yeah.
Before the trade deadline, and then he went out and got hurt.
And they obviously had other trade talks with receivers.
Yeah, they didn't just start them with, we're only going to talk to these 2 teams about this. Guys, I think in terms of that stuff, again, with the draft capital that they had last year going into this year, you only had the 7 picks. And so, you probably weren't as likely to trade. Hey, this team wants a 4 for that guy. Well, we can't trade a 4.
You're a little more limited.
Yeah.
You got a lot of cards in your hand right now, though.
You could trade a 4 now, and it wouldn't.
You wouldn't even button. It wouldn't move the needle hardly.
Yeah.
Right.
You could trade a 5 or a 6. It doesn't move the needle.
Yeah, and I do think teams will covet picks for this upcoming draft.
And that's the other part of it, is that if this draft is in fact deeper
than the one we just
saw, those picks are going to be more valuable. You can. Oh,
you don't have to wait till the deadline.
You're going to give me a 5? Okay, in next year's draft, absolutely.
Right. I might get a starter out of that. Right?
Yeah.
So no,
Or is Omar Khan like, hey, we'll give you a 4 if you give us your 6, and
we'll swap a little.
Give you a 7.
At the end,
yeah,
right. A little trick. But no, I think there's more to this trade than just what makes you better right this second for the football team. I mean, there's locker room stuff, there's contract stuff coming up, there's the ability to get a Pickens replacement / I mean, it's not going to be a 1-for-1 replacement. You're not going to find someone as talented as him, I don't think. But you might find someone more reliable, and you have Metcalf in place. So let's see how it plays out before we judge the trade, because I think this is kind of a 2-parter.
Oh, it definitely is. I mean, as Khan said, we're chasing a championship, and every decision we make is based on trying to win a championship, not only in the future, but this year. We're focused on trying to win a championship this year. I know there's a lot of questions about different things, but there's a lot of time between now and the start of the season.
Yeah.
And rest assured, we're trying to win a championship this year.
I'm glad he said there's a lot of time between now and the rest of the season. There's a lot more moves that are going to happen with this roster overall.
Yeah.
And Jerry Dulac put it out today. I just happened to retweet it. I mean, think about all the snaps and starters they've lost off last year's roster, and I think a lot of them are for the better. So we'll see.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of change already.
Yep. Change isn't always in the coaching staff.
Right.
Which is what a lot of, you got to change the coaching staff. Well, sometimes you got to change the players.
Mm-hmm.
It's the Jimmies and
They've
Joes,
done a lot of that.
not the X's and O's necessarily.
Yeah. No, they've done a lot of it.
Yeah.
Steelers football happens here. The Pittsburgh Steelers Audio Network.